Howdy folks, and welcome back. You probably noticed there hasn't been a video in a hot moment. The reason for this is pretty easy. At the end of September, near beginning of October, YouTube decided to unilaterally terminate this account for quote-unquote selling a scam. Please keep in mind, I have sold nothing at this point and have had no strikes on this channel. Thank goodness that the YouTube AI is smart enough and knows when to ban a small creator making a TCG game, but leaves up actual AI slop. Or, maybe that's the whole point. Anyway, it took a while to get control back and a good deal of time for me to get my motivation back after that, especially having now started my new job. But that's what I wanted to make this video about, really, the ups and downs of TCG creation. Now, before we begin, let's just get some stuff out of the way. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not here to sell you on a course. Very quickly, for YouTube in the back, I am not, that is N-O-T, not selling anything. I am also not a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, or pretty much anybody else who works in the mental health field. So everything I say won't necessarily be backed by any research outside of my own lived experience. If you need professional help, there are people out there who do that. With those formalities out of the way, let's begin. The ups and downs of TCG creation, like any project you work on, you're going to look for inspiration. Don't let that inspiration poison you. In kind of easier terms, don't compare what you're making to someone else. Let's take Aquology, for example, and compare it to the homemade TCG Reddit page. Every day, there's a new person with a new game. Some of them look incredibly well done and professional with a team clearly backing them. Does that make Aquology, a one-man operation, any less interesting? No. Now, I can hear people now already typing, going how markets work and people only have so much disposable income, so they'll only purchase the quote-unquote best or the perceived best. Of course, you aren't wrong, but I would counter the argument with if you're going into the TCG market to try to make your generational wealth off of your homemade TCG, you're going to be in for a rough time. Outside of indie things in general, sometimes being difficult to kind of put out there, you're also dealing with Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, and Pokemon, so you're dealing with the big three to contest with. Then, if you go sort of below that, you'll see the One Piece TCG has started to really take off, but they have a very identifiable IP that has millions of fans behind it. So, not the best example. Let's look at MetaZoo. Okay, that's an even worse example because they were basically a scam investment that Topps bought and the creators are laughing all the way to the bank. Now, to be fair, Topps is trying to bring it back, but at least, again, in my opinion, the name is pretty tarnished. Hi everyone, Post-Editing Sun here. I got just some information a little wrong. Topps never actually acquired MetaZoo. They were just a partner with them. The MetaZoo IP was bought out by Meta 2 Enterprises LLC in partnership with GameCube Batar Labs, who are trying to bring the game back out at some point. My commentary still stands on it being a tarnished name, but I just wanted to set the record straight, make sure that I got proper information out. So that's on me. Anyway, let's continue. So with that, my last example, again, of a well-known indie TCG would be Flesh and Blood. On the surface, this is a indie TCG that has been making solid waves, right? They've got competitions. They're getting their products in local game stores. Like, they are doing what a lot of indie card games want to do. If you look a little under the covers, though, you'll realize that James White, the creator of the game, has over 20 years experience in the TCG world, having worked for Upper Deck, Hasbro, and has had years of TCG marketing. To be clear, this is not a hit piece on Flesh and Blood. Actually, sort of the opposite. We really should not spit on this TCG just because the creator has 20 years experience and corporate TCG experience. He's made a damn good product and he should be incredibly proud of it. What I'm trying to show you are just some of the giants that you're going to be up against if you're going into this for the sole purpose of making some level of generational wealth. When I started Gates of Amalgam, I was able to get in contact with an individual who worked with Magic the Gathering for years. And to be honest, while I appreciated his candor in the conversation, he basically broke down what I just told you. And while he did give me some good pointers, he mostly insinuated that unless you have name recognition or a known IP or some level of a prior following, it's going to be really difficult to get to the level of Magic the Gathering or Pokemon. That's just sort of the reality we live in. So yeah, that kind of blows. It does sound like I'm trying to get you to stop doing what you're doing, but that's not at all what I'm trying to do, actually. This is where indie creators can really fit in. What's the problem with Magic the Gathering and Pokemon? So many different things, but they have such a wide audience that they sort of have to, for the most part, capitulate to the lowest common denominator. Also, they're a massive company with shareholders, but that's a discussion I'm not getting into today. But see, this is where we indie creators kind of are lucky. We don't have those capitulations. We can make whatever we want. So yes, while in concept or potentially even in practice, I am in competition with, let's say, Abyss Garden TCG. By the way, link down below if you want to check them out. Our games are so different that the base we would be appealing to have a high likelihood to be very different. So what's the point? Why the yapping and the rambling? What I'm trying to get at here with the ups and downs of TCG creation, it can be hard to see other indie creators succeed where we have not. And it's easy to write it off as, well, they have 20 years experience, or, well, they just have better artwork. And yes, those things do help. And I could be huffing huge amounts of copium right now, so who knows. I don't think that's the bread and butter of it. For example, Aquology, for me, is the culmination of years of playing TCG games and creating the game that I, myself, would love to play. Even if I don't expand out past my immediate group of people, I can proudly say I made this thing. Hell, that's half the reason this channel even exists, to show and document my progress, as well as give advice that I've learned along the way. Now, yes, let's also be very clear, this is also part advertisement for when the game is complete. I would be lying to you, myself, and everyone who watches this if I didn't say, yeah, I wanted to make a little bit of money off of this. That would be disingenuous if I didn't make that disclaimer. But I'm also not aiming for worldwide distribution. Plus, I know for a fact I'll be putting it up online during playtesting because I want as many people to try to play the game without actually having to make any purchase. Heck, I might even just leave it up once the physical stuff is done, just so people can try it out before they buy anything. My intent is to create a game that I enjoy, that I would feel proud of to build a community around. Yes, it's hard as hell not to judge your stuff based off of others and to feel defeated. But guess what? If your creation is never finished, then it doesn't matter what other games are like. Yours is not done. It doesn't even get to join the race. Let me see if I can give you a more concrete comparison. You see the Mona Lisa, a very, very underwhelming experience in person, by the way. God, the thing is so small. Or you see Starry Night or any of the other thousands of classics. And then you see the Barnett Newman Ornament 6. That is a blue canvas with a white line down it, and it sold for over $40 million. You sit there and laugh and go, why? If you have that amount of money, why not buy a Van Gogh original? But the reality is, it doesn't matter. That artist, Newman, whether incredibly bold, stupid, arrogant, or a mix of the three, took that canvas, drew a line down it, and that's what he made. Now, granted, in his case, he is also a well-known American painter who, according to his Wikipedia page, was a major figure in abstract expressionism, but this is literally all he did. Line, canvas. That was it. Now, did he see any of this money while he was alive? Unclear. He died in 1970. This painting sold in, I believe it was 2013, so clearly no on that front. But on other paintings, I have no idea. But the point still stands. Who cares if your art isn't as professional as another, or if your rules don't have 15 layers of synergy. Do you enjoy the game you made? If the answer to that is yes, then in time, and of course with a little social media push, then absolutely, you might be able to make a community around your game. Now, all that being said, I'm not some paragon of my own virtues. YouTube shut down my channel and I was deflated, like full on defeated. Still am, if I'm being honest. The self-doubts, the why would anyone play this game, or the your art is childish compared to real artists creep in all the time. Those are real fun self-doubts, by the way, up in my noodle, so, you know. But then I get on my iPad and I draw an outline for my sketch. And maybe that's all I did that day on the game. But it was more than I had the day before. Maybe I sit down for an hour and come up with only 2 card effects. Sure, on the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot when I have to do like 100, but it was better than yesterday. Every step counts no matter how small. I'll leave you with one last little nugget of knowledge. I struggled hard with arbitrary timelines I set for myself. All creatures must be done in 6 months. All art needed to be completed in 5, and so on and so forth. But the reality is, this is a hobby for me, not a job. I'm not a company, nor am I beholden to shareholders. Once I have a release date and or a Kickstarter, then that's a very different feeling, because then I am beholden to all of you to give you a finished product. But until that time comes, and when I feel I'm ready, we're just creating, playtesting, breaking things, and having a good time. If you have any other fun tips or tricks that sort of helped you out, kind of get through those rough humps in your creation, put them down below. Future videos will be coming out as the How Do I series starts to finish up and or I run out of ideas. I'll most likely start pivoting into Aquology specific videos, though the How Do I series won't actually go anywhere. In any case, thank you all for bearing with me in my absence along with this yap sesh. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!